With the landscaping of this movie, and seeing people walking around in loincloths, I couldn't help but to think back to the original 1968 version. And I don't know if I was too young to appreciate it, or that movie's just bad, but the last time I was that disgusted is when I saw a Serbian film. This is 2024's Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This movie follows our new protagonist, Noah, and after getting his legs busted by nearly everyone in this movie, he finds a whole new group of people to do that for him. Group of apes, sorry. If you heard this movie has an issue with pacing, they are correct, sir. Kinda reminds me of the experience at a drive-thru. Like once you pull up, you know it's gonna take a while, so you whip up your phone, and before you know it, the line starts moving. But then the guy in front of you takes his time with 15 items. Or her, we don't discriminate here. And I feel like the ill-timed pacing has to do a lot with the characters, like Noah. He's just kinda stiff and dull, and he doesn't say a lot of much. At least nothing besides, it's the law. I have to get my clan back. Father? Mother? And that's just about all I remember of him. He's not very interesting. As a matter of fact, it feels like they wrote Noah around the fact that they're gonna make several other movies, which is extra disappointing when you think back to Rise. I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be a standalone film with the potential for sequels. Not that I've looked this up, but the way it goes about the story, it definitely seems that way. It definitely seems like that movie was supposed to be just one, instead of this one that is definitely written like there's supposed to be two more ahead of it. And it's just so disappointing because you can feel it. And I think the movie suffers. Another character, May, I don't know, I don't care. She's not very interesting either. But you can tell she has an interesting backstory, and that's because they give you hints throughout the entire film. Except they don't really go into it. Instead, it makes you wait for the next two films. I mean, I love the way she's introduced in the film. Unfortunately, it doesn't stay that way, but I would have preferred it. And as for her performance, anybody could have done it. It could have been a man, it could have been a woman. But I wasn't engaged with her character whatsoever. So far, these appetizers are undercooked and underwhelming, but there is a saving grace. Actually, two for me. There's my boy, Raka. And Raka's the man. He's down with the word of the one true Caesar. Played by Peter McCann, Raka is wise, tough, righteous, and our substitution for Maurice, which I had my doubts about because it seemed like they were just going to give us a different version of what we already had. But Raka's got way more personality than Maurice ever had, and is only beaten out by Proximus Caesar, played by Kevin Durant. The best villain this movie could have ever hoped for. His charisma and personality are so in your face, I couldn't help but to like him, and sometimes I didn't even see him as the villain. Like, even his actions weren't the worst, it's just the way he goes about it. We can change him, guys. And with Proximus using the words of Caesar to manipulate the other apes, it makes the message of this movie very clear. And like I said, I don't see him so much as a villain. His intentions seem good enough, but when someone has that much power and influence, things can quickly go south. Like, hey, where can I get one of those weapons of mass destruction, right? Now, unfortunately, while the CGI does not take a hit, this movie looks amazing, beautiful even. The director here is Wes Ball, and that's the guy who brought us Maze Runner, which is very unfortunate because most of the time I felt like I was watching a Maze Runner film. The action scenes are shot well, but here's that issue with the pacing again. Like, there's this one scene where they break into somewhere, and Noah and his friends discover something about their past. See, they come from a small village, and they were not told the full truth, only being told that there are dangers out there. And while not explicitly said, I think it's because the elders of their village believe that the original words of the original Caesar are harmful. Now, from what I hear, this movie takes place around 3,000 years after Caesar's death. Which leads me into another interesting fact: Caesar is just a legend at this point. Some don't even know he actually existed, and the ones that do believe he's a god. And I love watching this story unfold, even though this movie had not lived up to my expectations. And as we all know, high expectations lead to disappointment. I love watching the story unfold. I love knowing what happened and what led to those original 1968 films. I especially love watching the world we know now covered in plant life, and having said world discovered by a bunch of nobodies that might one day become legends to future generations. I kind of ran off on a rant. Point is, that scene where they discover something, it's kind of really dull. Like, it legitimately took them a whole 10 minutes for them to find a children's book so they could be like, oh shit, leading into a very Maze Runner-esque scene. In summary, this movie has positives and negatives. There isn't one really weighing out the other, but it came very close. But in the end, the good swayed me into a positive recommendation. I'm gonna give 2024's Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes a go for it. What did you think? If you stuck around this long, thank you for your patience. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.